It's almost Shabbat, so Shabbat Shalom to everybody. I'm wishing you a meaningful Shabbat ahead. Tonight's Torah story is Vayera, and last week was Lech Lecha. So this is one of the three parshas where we learn about Avraham. And there's a lot going on in this particular story this week. We have the incident with Sodom. We have the three angels who visit Avraham after his circumcision, which is a really big deal, obviously. And then we have the story of Lot, and we have the story of the binding of Isaac. So there's a lot in this parsha. But this is the Kabbalistic interpretation, as usual, of the Torah story. So we're not going to go into all the details of the text. We're actually just going to extract the meaning as it applies to our lives right here, right now. So I took my notes. I usually study on Thursdays so that I can be prepared for Shabbat and share with you guys what I learn. And you know, these stories are the same every year, but we always go deeper. So I like to store my notes in a little file folder. If that's something you're interested in, I invite you to do that too. And every year you could add in your new notes and new things that you learn. So as you guys know, the title of the parsha always gives a summary of what we're about to read. So the title of this parsha, Vayera, it means, and he appeared, or he was revealed. And it's talking about God. It's talking about the Creator revealing himself to Avraham. And it's not the first time that the Creator revealed himself to Avraham, so it makes you question, what does that mean? I thought that he already revealed himself to Avraham. But this is in a whole new way. It's in a powerful way that the Creator reveals his light to Avraham. So we get a little hint about what the story's message is going to be. And keep in mind that this is the parsha where Avraham gets circumcised at age, I think it was 99 or 100, 99, or 90. This 90, somewhere between 90 and 100. Anyway, the point is, he gets circumcised, and on the third day, which is the most painful day, it said it's the most painful day, in his tent, he receives a knock at the door. And it's the three angels. And he gets up in his pain, and also to make it even more intense, it's the hottest day of the summer. So there's a heat wave, it's super hot in the desert, he's in all of this pain, and he still jumps up to greet the angels and to be a host, which is a major part of the path of Judaism. And that's something you learn about also on the path of the mystic, that being a host is being like God, because God is the host with the most, right? The most holy host. And so we're here to be like that. So Avraham jumps up in his pain to greet the angels. And so there's this really important concept that's being revealed at this part of the story that can apply to today and will apply to our paths forever. Because it's talking about the light of kindness and how that is directly connected to the light of wisdom. One of the number one reasons that we don't progress in consciousness, that we don't progress on our path, is because we're not doing enough acts of kindness. The Torah and the Zohar teaches that the light of kindness is actually the vessel for the light of wisdom to enter. So if we to be a host to the angels and to serve them, truly though, with authenticity, not in some half-ass way, not in, maybe I'll, greet them quickly and give them some water and send them on their way. No, it goes into detail just how carefully and attentively he took care of them. And so the point is, when it's outside of our comfort zone, when it's not expected of us, and we do it. What is it? I mean, be kind, acts of loving kindness. When it's actually hard to be kind, when it's not expected of us, and we muster up the strength, we find it in us to push past that discomfort and perform the act of kindness, that's when we have the greatest potential to grow. Think about it. It's like with anything else on the path, right? Think of any of the virtues: honesty, patience, forgiveness. When you be those things, when it's easy, good for you. But when you be those things, when it's hard, when it's actually going against your natural inclination, it's going against your nature, when you have to really put forth effort, when you have to use your will to push past the discomfort, that's when you have the biggest opportunity to create light. It's not when it's easy, it's when it's difficult, right? And that's the same with all the virtues. Again, honesty, forgiveness, kindness, patience, any virtue, you name it. If it's easy to be that, that's great, but you're going to create the most light when it's actually the most difficult, when it pushes you out of your comfort zone, when it's not expected of you and you do it anyway. That's when it's the most powerful. And so the same goes for acts of kindness. It's all well and good to be kind to somebody when you have a lot to give, when you're overflowing. But what about when you don't have anything to give? When all you have is your presence, when maybe you're struggling too? We're so quick to want to set boundaries in this day and age. And I spoke about this a little bit in a video I made last week on empathy. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you're welcome to check that out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/RebeccaMagic. The thing is, we're so quick to set boundaries in this day and age where we go, oh gosh, I'm so drained, especially if you're an empath. Oh gosh, I'm so drained. I've been helping so many people. I need a break, And then you're taught that's okay, and rest and set boundaries. And while yes, there is a time and a place for setting those boundaries, we need to remember the trick that the ego wants to play on us there. It's the same as anything else in life. When we feel like we don't have enough, when we feel like we're drained, that's when we need to remember, I'm connected to an infinite source of potential, of life, of light, of love, truth. And especially when I'm feeling like I'm drained, I need to remember that, and I need to push past that discomfort, open back up to that all-powerful source, and keep going and keep doing acts of kindness. Look, it's one thing to run yourself into the ground and to then carry resentment because you offered more than you had to give. You're depleted. Yes, sometimes you do need to rest, but remember, more often than not, you're going to want to push past the discomfort. Because hey, even when you're feeling like, I'm exhausted, this person needs my help, but I can't help them, I'm exhausted. Guess what? If you help them, you're helping yourself, because we are one. And then all of a sudden your battery is charged up again. You ever feel like that when you're just going through it, but when you help someone, all of a sudden you feel energized? So don't fool yourself. When you feel like, oh gosh, I've been doing so much, I can't possibly help this person right now. You are that person. Remember that we charge our spiritual battery when we help others. Don't forget that. Being of service should be energizing. If it's not, that's something to look at. Why? Why is it not? Is there some underlying resentment? Is there maybe a basic need that you haven't taken care of, that you need to take care of to be able to fill up your cup to continue to help others? Do what you need to do to get yourself into that state of balance and into that state of health so that you can continue to do acts of loving kindness every day, even when you feel tired, even when you feel uncomfortable. Don't be so quick to set a boundary and shy away from the work that is being offered to you there, the opportunity to grow. Okay, so think about Abraham in this story. And there's a reason that we're reading this story right now, because it's aligned with the energy that we're going through right now, the energy that's incoming right now for the collective consciousness. There is a reason for the timing of this story. So if you're feeling a little drained, or you're feeling like you're in pain, remember that when you fill up someone else's cup, it's one cup, you're filling up your own too. Remember that if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling stagnant on your path, the key is to continue to push forward, to push past the discomfort and do those acts of loving kindness, because without the acts of loving kindness, there is no vessel for you to progress on your path. So don't sit around wondering why you're not getting anywhere if you haven't been doing those mitzvot, or those acts of kindness every day, those good deeds. And remember also, okay, let's connect that to the title of the story, Vayera. And he revealed himself. He appeared before God, for Abraham, this great light, this revelation. Abraham was offered this opportunity for ascension in the story where he is circumcised, okay? So in the circumcision, it's really representing this lifting of the veil. Okay, so the circumcision is just like this metaphor for removing the sheath of the heart, removing that which is in the way of you receiving love, receiving light, receiving truth. And so this story is telling us right there in the title, Vayera, we can be revealed more light. We can receive more light. We can transcend our challenges when we remember that acts of loving kindness are the key. Okay, so the light of generosity, the level of generosity that we exhibit is directly connected to the light of wisdom that we're able to receive. And the way that the Zohar puts it is the light of mercy is the vessel to activate the light of wisdom. If we don't do acts of loving kindness, if we're not only, we don't only want to hold loving kindness in our hearts, we want to become it, we want it to spill out of us, we want to express it. And if we're not actively doing that consistently, then we're not staying in a frequency to be able to receive the light of wisdom, which is ultimately one with the light of mercy. For example, if you're holding resentment towards people, if you're thinking bad things about people, and you're certainly not doing acts of loving kindness if you're in that state, then your frequency is not in resonance with wisdom, which is light, which is life, which is truth, which is love. So you can see how loving kindness and acts of loving kindness is directly connected to wisdom. What else do I want to share here? There's so much in this parsha. I love this one. Okay, so Sarah laughed when God said, hey, you're going to become parents, right? Because they were just about 100, right? Or Abraham was 100. I think she was 90, something like this, right? They were about at the age of 100, Sarah and Abraham. And God said, I'm finally going to bring you a child. And Sarah laughed. She laughed. And by the way, her son, Isaac, Yitzhak, it means laughter. His name means laughter. So it comes from that root. She laughed when God said, I'm going to bring you a child finally. She goes, my husband's old. I'm old. We're too old. It's never going to happen. And God says to Abraham, why does Sarah doubt me? Why does she doubt me? Does she not know about the miracles that I performed? Does she not remember the miracles I've performed thus far? And so there's a deep message in the code here in this Torah story, okay? And the Zohar teaches it like this. When we perceive ourselves as old and useless, then we begin to perceive all of life as old and useless. And for those of you who study the path of the occult, or maybe the path of gnosis or hermeticism, you understand, or maybe just the path of spirituality, simply put, you begin to understand that the way you perceive yourself is the way that you perceive the world, however conscious or unconscious you are of what's happening there. You are a representation of the world. You are a microcosm of the macrocosm. And so the way in which you perceive yourself becomes the way in which you perceive the world. Again, this can be an entirely unconscious process where you're unaware you're even doing it. But the more awareness we bring to that concept, the more we can use our present conscious awareness to uplift ourselves through that, to go, oh wow, so the way I see myself is the way that I will then see the world. Well, then I'm going to see myself in the light of truth, in the light of love, right? I'm going to see positive things in myself, and I'm only going to acknowledge those positive things within me. I'm going to really see the light in myself so that I can begin to see the light in the world. So we become the vessel and the ritual for how we see and treat the world. It's super powerful, right? So why do we forget that as we get older? When we start to see ourselves as more useless, old, then we start to see the world that way, as useless and old, dying. We want to see ourselves alive, youthful, eternal. When we acknowledge the timeless aspects within ourselves, then we, by default, will begin to acknowledge the timeless aspects of the world around us. And we will then be focused naturally and gracefully on the timeless aspects of self and self, which includes all of creation, the whole world. And we begin to rest in that consciousness of self-conscious immortality, which is the goal of the path of spiritual studies. We are here on this path to access that timelessness consciousness, that consciousness of immortality. And so when we see ourselves as immortal, we begin to acknowledge the immortal aspects of life, which are the only things that are real and everlasting. We look beyond the shell of things, beyond the material of things, to the essence of things. When we see our essence, our timeless love and light that exists within, then we only recognize that in the world. We look past that which is temporary to that which really matters, that which is eternal. Okay, so that all comes through the message in this parsha. When Sarah says, oh, we're old. Miracles can't happen like that. Oh, you best believe. Miracles can happen. But you have to believe. Okay, I really like this bit, so I wanted to share this with you guys because I learned this for the first time this year. Abraham told the angels when he was hosting them, come, let us have a little water to wash your feet. And there's a lot in this sentence, but I want to talk about one word, because Torah is a code. You guys know that, right? So every little thing is so intentional, and you can extract so many messages just from one line, just from the title alone, actually. Just from the very first letter of the whole Torah, even. So I just want to talk about the word feet. I learned this year. The word for feet here is the same for habit. And so he's saying, well, the root for the word feet is the same as the root for the word habit. He's saying, let's wash our feet. Let's wash our habits. Let's clean away our habits. And the idea is this. When you have a habit, even if it's a positive habit, you go on autopilot. And you're no longer alert. You're no longer accessing your fullest potential to be present and alert. Okay, so there's this message in here that it's a secret, in order to cross to the next level, in order to progress on our path, we have to move past habits, however positive. You still got to change it up. Just look at the seasons of nature even, right? 4 seasons of nature. At least change your habits according to the seasons. Make slight changes in them at least. This is how you stay on your toes. This is the secret of success. Well, one of the many secrets for success, right? I really like that one. Okay, another thing is Abraham sits by the entrance of his tent waiting for the opportunity to serve. And there's this whole idea that the entrance of the tent means that you're about to enter the challenge. You can see the tent as the vessel that contains the light within it. And we need to move through that vessel to get to the light. Okay, so you can ask yourself, what is my entrance to the tent right now? What is the challenge that I'm about to enter? And am I hesitating, or am I excited about the light that's hidden within that challenge? Abraham, who is one who teaches us about this concept that we don't have to be afraid. Instead, we should be acknowledging the discomfort that we're feeling at the entrance of the tent, right? At the start of our challenge. And we should be excited. Oh, okay, there's potential to grow in there. So although I feel uncomfortable, that's okay. And I can admit that, and I can acknowledge that discomfort. And I can also simultaneously acknowledge that with the discomfort is the opportunity to grow past it and to develop deeper certainty in the Creator and in the Creator's plan. So what is your entrance to the tent right now? What is your challenge? Think about that this week. What makes you uncomfortable, but ultimately you know deep inside you have to move through? Something that's going to teach you to have more certainty. Every time we experience discomfort, we're being offered a chance to experience a new level of certainty. It's a test. And of course we can pass the test. Of course, if God's giving it to us, God wouldn't give us what we can't handle, right? So as soon as you experience the discomfort or the uncertainty, remember the law of hermetics, right? The opposite lies hidden within. Every force has its equal and opposite force. So if you're feeling uncertainty, rather than giving in to the fear and the doubts and spiraling into that thought pattern, immediately acknowledge within that discomfort is the opportunity for deeper comfort in the Creator, of course, and in the Creator's plan. And if you're feeling uncertainty on your path, instead of getting lost in that fear again, immediately acknowledge, oh, I'm feeling uncertain. Well, the opposite must be right around the corner, certainty. I'm feeling uncertainty because within that is the opportunity to deepen my feeling of certainty in the Creator and the Creator's plan. If only I can get through this discomfort. And I know I can, because God wouldn't give me something I couldn't get through. I have everything I need within me, right? We've already established this understanding, right? This belief that I already have everything I need within me. And so if I'm being, if I'm feeling not only uncertainty, but let's say I'm feeling like I want to be dishonest, or I want to be impatient, or I want to be unforgiving, within all those things, those negative, seemingly negative things, lies the opposite force, the neutralizing force. So for example, if I'm feeling like I want to be dishonest, right there I could uplift myself and go, oh, don't give in to that. Instead, recognize this is an opportunity for me to develop the light of honesty. If I'm feeling like I want to be unforgiving, immediately look at that as a trigger to pull in my conscious awareness and say, oh, this is clearly an opportunity for me to activate the light of forgiveness within me. Same thing for all of the virtues and vices. And they all can be summarized into faith or doubt, love or fear. They all can be summarized into certainty, faith, or uncertainty, doubt. So whenever you feel like you want to embody the vice, look to the opportunity therein that you're being offered to cultivate the opposite, the light of its opposite force, the light of the virtue. And know that no matter which pair of opposites you're focused on, virtue and vice, it all comes down to uncertainty and certainty. It all comes down to being given the opportunity to move from fear to love, from doubt to faith in the Creator and the Creator's plan. Okay? Know that all of the virtues are the rivers that lead to the ocean of compassion. You can ride any of them home. You can ride any of them there. And it also helps to depersonalize your story when you look at it this way. All of the virtues are giving you the same one opportunity to deepen your faith, to grow the light of compassion within you. They all bring you to the same place. Okay? When you're feeling that discomfort, I was writing this little note to myself here to always remember this. When you're feeling that lack of certainty, when you're feeling discomfort, when you're feeling anything less than certainty in the Creator's plan, remember to watch your inner language of your thoughts and maybe the language that comes out of your mouth too. Don't say, if I get through this. It's never if. It's a matter of when, because even if not in this lifetime, you'll eventually get it. You'll just keep trying until you do. So don't say if I'll make it through this challenge. Say when I make it through. I'm going to feel the opposite of what I'm feeling right now, and that should be motivation enough to keep going. Okay, so now the binding of Isaac is always a super controversial topic in this parsha, obviously. And it's a dramatic story to make a very important point, to prove a very important point. God says to Abraham, go and kill your only son, right? Go and bind your son. And of course, if we really look, we know that God would never actually want him to do this. And the funny thing is, deep inside, Abraham knew. He knew that. Because in the Torah, it says very specifically, the boys who followed him with the donkey and with Isaac up to where he was going to do the deed, carry out the murder. Abraham pauses and he says, all right, boys, stay here with the donkey and we will be back. We. He says we. Very specifically in the Torah, Abraham says we. Yitzhak and I, my son and I, we will be back. But if he thought he was going to kill him, then why would he say we? Because deep inside he knew, and the Torah is hinting at that. Okay, so when you really become a student of the Torah, you learn to look for these clues. And they reassure us, because then right there, before we get to the darkest part of the story, we can relax knowing that, it was never going to happen anyway. So many people get stuck on, why would God ask him to do this? How disgusting, how terrible, how dark, I don't understand. And I've watched elders express this frustration and lack of understanding in this story. I just don't understand why God would ask him to do this. He never really was going to let him do it. So get over it. Before he even goes to do it, there's a hint right here. It's not going to happen. Abraham himself knows. He said, boys, wait here. We'll be right back. So that kind of helps you to relax and know that it's obviously some lesson that's about to take place, which the whole Torah is anyway, right? It's all metaphorical. So that's a really important message there. And the thing is, Abraham didn't want to do that, but he wanted to follow whatever God said. And he's like, you know what, God, especially because this is so uncomfortable for me, and I obviously don't want to do this, find my son and kill him. Of course, I don't want to do this. And so, especially because I don't want to, and I trust in your plan, I'm going to just go through the motions. I'm going to take the steps and see what plan you have for me. And of course, God was like, whoa, okay, we're not going to do that. You passed the test. Okay, of course, I would never want you to do that. He wanted to see that Abraham had it in him to go against his natural inclination, just like we said earlier about the habits. It's deeper than what it appears to be in the story, okay? It's about the habits. We form our habits, and however positive we judge them to be, they're still habits. And we need to be tested for our balance. That's the key to why we're here, really. It's not just about light. It's also about the dark. It's not just about positivity. It's also about negativity. It's beyond our human judgments. These are the forces of polarity that keep all of creation going, that keep all of creation alive. The forces of polarity vibrating in opposition is what creates the life within us and all around us. And so it's sort of like you can see it as the Creator seeing if Abraham was capable of maintaining some sort of balance. And he did that by giving him these challenges and opportunities to express through his character and through his being this balance. He was one of the forefathers. And so he was one of the foundational energies that make up everything we see today. He's one of those ones within us. And so God needed to make sure, the Creator needed to make sure that he had what it was going to take for us to all be, his descendants, for us to all inherit his qualities and be able to continue on. He wanted to make sure that Abraham had everything he needed within him so that we later down the line as his descendants could have everything we need within us. Okay, so the main points of this story for Vayera, this Parsha, are it's really important to do acts of kindness consistently. The number one reason people get stuck on their path is because they become self-serving. They learn about magic. They learn about law of attraction. They learn about how to manifest what they want. But then it's all about I, me, mine, me, and not the larger me. And they become disconnected from the collective, and they forget to do acts of loving kindness, and they only do acts that are self-serving. And then we become disconnected from that source of power ultimately, because life serves life. When we serve life, life serves us. This is the magic of the divine design. The tarot teaches you this, just like the Torah teaches you this. When you move from the fool to the magician archetype, in the tarot, it's teaching you that you're here as the magician, right? One hand up, one hand down, to channel that source energy and be the vessel for something to be made of that in this world. And ultimately, that purpose for all of us is to bring heaven to earth. And when we become disconnected from our purpose and we use magic and the elements to be self-serving, we get cut off from that source of power. It's like your mother would say to you as a child, I want to give you a certain amount of responsibility and power, but when you abuse it, I got to take it away. This is just like the Creator. Okay, so this is a main point for this week. And as always, balance is the underlying key to it all, right? It's not just about positivity and it's not just about negativity. It's about both, and making sure that we don't get too comfortable in one or the other, and that we exercise our ability to go against our natural inclinations so that we maintain that will to stay present and alert, to be able to do whatever we need to do as the energy requires of us, as we face experiences in life, so that we don't become too caught up in one side or the other, that we respond from ego to our experiences rather than from the appropriate space of balance. These are key points in this Torah Parsha, okay? And then also remember, what is your entrance to the tent? What makes you uncomfortable right now? And how can you see and finally acknowledge once and for all that wherever you are uncomfortable and wherever you feel doubt and you feel fear and you feel a lack of certainty, that's where you need to go, because within that lies the opportunity to grow more certainty, to grow more comfortable in your skin, in who you are in this world. But you have to go toward the pain, toward the suffering, toward the discomfort. And know you'll get through it, or you wouldn't be facing this opportunity in life. You wouldn't be facing this challenge if there wasn't the ability to persevere. You've got it. You got everything you need within you. You have Creator. You have everything you need. So don't just go to where it's easy to do the work. Go to where it's most difficult. Because that's where the treasure lies, right? What is that quote? It's like the treasure you seek lies in the darkest cave, something like this, right? Like that cave you fear to enter is the cave that holds the treasure. So really forget about all of your excuses. Oh, but I'll be sad. Oh, but I might, I might not make it through. Yes, you will. You have everything you need. There's no excuse. Oh, but it's uncomfortable. Oh, well, great. Then you will conquer that discomfort within yourself, and you'll rise above. All it takes is your will. All it takes is your willingness. Know that truly that's why we're here in this life, is to go toward the challenge, because it's there to teach us something. It's not about the shell of the situation. It's not about the material details. It's not about the faces or the names or the places. It's about the energy within you, and within those things that you're facing, within those people that you're facing. What is the message there? All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed my notes about Parshat Vayera. I'm not sure if I recorded this video a couple years ago. There might be an old Parshat Vayera video I did, but I'm going to try to share a bunch of them every year so that we can just see how far we've come together. And I will be posting more resources in the Shabbat Crew group. So if you're not yet a part of that private group, you can find it on Facebook, Shabbat Crew. You can find it in our on the page here, on the Royal Path page on Facebook. And of course, if you're not a member of the Royal Path group, that's also linked to this page. If you're not yet following me on YouTube, go ahead and find me at youtube.com/RebeccaMagic. You can subscribe there. It's nice because some people don't use Facebook, some people don't use Instagram, so I have YouTube as well. And with that said, if you don't have me on Instagram either, I'm also Rebecca Magic on there. You can find me there too. I will see you tonight for the Shabbat candle lighting prayer. I'm going to go live here instead of the Shabbat Crew group. I'm just going to keep that from now on for resources and sharing articles and deeper information with the Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah. But here is where I'll do all the lives from now on. So if you're not yet following this Royal Path page, please do. I'll see you tonight again for the ancient melody of the candle lighting prayer. If you want to learn it, I encourage you to and sing along. Please share your videos of you singing and lighting the candles if you feel called. It brings so much joy to my heart when you all do it. And enjoy the full moon energy. I'll be seeing you in a few days again for the final quarter to wrap up this moon cycle. If you have been interested in learning more about the tarot and learning it from a perspective as it's connected to the Torah, I teach this. First of all, I do one-on-one readings. If you want to book a reading with me, that's the best way to be introduced to the archetypes. of the tarot and the Torah, the ones that live in you. I also have a video course on the major arcanum of the tarot that goes deep into the occult symbolism of each of the major cards of the deck. So reach out if you want more information about that. Thank you so much for all of your support, for all of you who have purchased my books in the last couple of weeks. I'm coloring in the illustrations for my children's book, and that's almost complete. I'm super excited to publish that. It's my favorite project so far. Really can't wait to share it with you guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Have a beautiful, meaningful Shabbat, and may you make the most of the incoming energies, and may you make the most of the opportunities to insert your loving kindness into this world today and every single day. That is how we'll continue to grow. Shalom.